We have a 52-year-old horn dog who brought a trash bag to prevent hotel damages um, in his hotel room. And we have a 24-year-old midwife who wants a baby so bad to where she'll just take it from anybody. I could only be talking about Rick and Trish. Let's get into it. So, welcome back to So She's Single. We are going to be going into this is even my last one I'm going to be talking about regarding the 90 Day Before 90 Day season. And this one, it, this was a very frustrating, cringe relationship to watch this season, if I'm being honest. Um, And so let's get into it. I hope that maybe provide a perspective from going over the situation that you just may or may not have heard from elsewhere. I'm really looking forward to the tell all coming up. I wanted to do a breakdown of Trish and Rick from what we have seen on the show so far. And let's get into it. I want to kind of maybe do a dive into the social contrast of their relationship and them as individuals, and just take it from there. So. Um, so we got Rick, who's from LA. He's 52 years old. He is a tap dancer instructor. He sells weave online. It looks like they're one of those like little quick sell places, those little apps, and he's also an Uber driver. He has 5 kids. Really, he had 6. He did lose one kid who died, unfortunately. And Rick has 3 older children, and he has 2 younger children from his previous wife, who he actually already did a K-1 visa for. They were together for about, I think, 17 years, and they divorced. I don't know if she's still in the States or not, but he did have 2 kids with her, and he did go to Nigeria to bring her over to the States. So we already kind of go into Rick already going through this process before and is a repeat offender. And so then, of course, we meet Trish. I'm not gonna lie. For me, Trish is probably the most beautiful woman on this season. She is gorgeous. Trish is gorgeous. I don't think that we have been to Madagascar in the past. If we have, I must not have watched that season. So I loved that we got a chance to be in Madagascar and to get a really good picture of how it looks. I think that she did a very good job kind of showing us around a little bit. It's definitely a very beautiful place that has also, of course, that was built out of hardship, and they still have their own hardships, but nonetheless, she's a whole, she's a midwife, she's a nurse. She definitely has good head on her, so she's 24, 25 years old. Sorry, she's 25 years old because I remember that because if you just switch their ages around, you're going to get Rick or Trisha, right? So it was perplexing to understand what Trish saw in Rick. We know what Rick saw in Trish. So it just made the whole thing perplexing. And I want to get something out the way. This was our only black couple of the season, so there are definitely moments that sometimes I gotta say, as someone who is, who's black, I'm a black American, we tend to be, some of us, not all of us, just tend to be a little bit more interested, and we may have some more emotional feelings from, black couples when we're watching the show. And so, and there are just certain things that we've noticed just because it could be a part of black culture, not saying it always is, um, that we may love or find absolutely frustrating. So if you kind of hear me kind of veer off a little bit, it might be coming from that place, but I will do my best to reduce that because I'm not trying to alienate nobody. But there is a but, not a however. I should say, I want to kind of express my opinion, how I feel about things, and let's just start with the fact of Rick makes my fucking booty itch. Okay, Rick, he, how, I don't know if you ever heard that ninjas ain't shit. and you can replace ninja with the actual word, not the ER, but the AS. Rick ain't shit. Like when we talk about straight black men, and the things that they do that don't move us any forward as a culture, he is part of the problem. Like he's part of the problem. When I tell you I cannot stand this man, and I really wanted to make an excuse for his behavior, but I think that's the fucking problem, is that a lot of people have made excuses for his behavior in the past, and he's gotten so accustomed to having a tantrum and having childish behavior to get out of things, to where I don't have it to do. I don't have it to do. Um, this man ain't shit. He irritates me. And so if I have a bias, clearly I don't fuck with Rick. And I don't know what kind of father he is. He could very well be a good father. He could be. He could be there for his kids. I don't believe that. I really don't. And we only meet his oldest, and we see the two youngest. We don't see the ones in between. They was at the family cookout that we met, and that we had a chance to meet him at before he traveled to Madagascar. Yeah, he's one of those. He's just one of those ancient ass ninjas. All right, so let me get into why I feel this way. So we discussed a bit about Rick. We discussed a bit about Trisha. There is a bit secret in this relationship, which is Rick had a moment where, because he felt like Trish had ghosted him and was being unresponsive to him, he booked the whole last trip to Colombia to spend time with his ex because he felt abandoned. So, and this secret really ends up being a very big part of their storyline, and it also, the way that it was handled is what also contributes to maybe some of the emotions that some others, like myself, has been able to express regarding the reactions of Trish when she finds out certain things. So let's get into it. So, so I like to talk about how they met. So, they met where on one of those apps, and she was sending him a bunch of messages and so forth and so forth. So, of course, he was intrigued. He already has a history, apparently, of not wanting no American women. He likes those exotic women, of course. And so, he, of course, met Trish. Now, I don't know exactly when Rick was single or when he had time to be single, because keep in mind, I mentioned to you earlier that he was just out of a long term, well, about at least a 7-year relationship with his last wife that he brought over from Nigeria, and is possibly still having to support Ribianis. And then, but his ex, who he considers to be his ex, is some person that we don't meet over in Colombia that he still has strong feelings for. So I'm not sure when he was single. If I had to guess, Rick is not someone who is comfortable being single. And so he probably just jumps from whatever. I believe we call them passport bros. So I think that's what he is a passport bro, most importantly. And especially since he probably doesn't meet up to the standards of some American women, especially in LA of all places. He thinks it's easier to go elsewhere to find somebody. Point blank into the period. That's how I feel. Rick is someone who is, I think, I won't say from the jump, but what we see throughout this season is he's highly insecure about his financial station in life, and he wears it on his shoulder. You can tell. You can tell. I don't know. We don't know enough about his past to understand if he used to have money. Remember Annie and David, like how David was like making all this money and doing money, he lost it all. We don't get any of that story from Rick. We just know that he is someone who is financially financially stressed. It would being frank, but he has enough money for these trips, but he's financially stressed. That's what we get. And so when they meet, it's definitely a very, very beautiful meeting. It was super authentic on her part. I think Trish truly was all in on this relationship. Now, whether she had ulterior motives when it comes to the States and all the other stuff, I don't know. But if she did, for me, it's like, so what? You know, she's 25 years old. She's dating this older guy. You know, this could be her ticket to a better life. I'm not mad at her. And if she's attracted to him, and which just feeling she was really authentically happy to see this man, she took her shoes off and ran towards him, jumped in his arms. You know, again, I already told you. I think Trish is beautiful. I really do. That is a beautiful woman. So to see her into him, grand, question your taste, right? So, anywho, they have a very good meeting, of course, because it's a horn dog and she's a freaky herself. They do the first night and get things tested out and so on and so forth. Have a good time. Now, interestingly enough, Rick apparently brought one of those mitigation bags, like a mitigation trash bag, plastic, that you would put down on the floor to protect it from when you're doing like some renovation work or repair work for the bed. Because and I don't like to get into the TMI-ness, and in this situation, it's way too much, and I think 90 Day Fiance showed too much. I don't mind seeing more Trisha, if I'm being honest, but I don't want to see nothing about Rick. Don't want to see shit about Rick past the offer. And I think that he's a little bit too comfortable with his skin on camera, if I'm being quite frank about that. But regardless, he brought this bag, this plastic, to put on the sheet because apparently she's able to produce a lot of fluids when she's at her peak excitement, if you catch my drift. So it just goes everywhere. And so it's like, you brought this because I don't want to have to pay for damages to the sheets. When he said that shit out his mouth, I said, damn, this a cheap right here. This, what? What? Like, I could not find the humor in it. Like, I could not find the humor in it. Because, you know how you just have dealt with some certain types of people for a long period of time, or you've seen it and you just don't have time for that bullshit at a certain age in your life. That's how I feel about Rick. Like, I don't have it to do with like his antics at all. And so, regardless, we move the fuck on like I know we can. And so that was one of the weird things. And then we come across this part where like she's like, hey, isn't this mall very cute? I would love to kind of get some bathing suits and so on and so forth. And he's like, I ain't no sugar daddy. Whoa. Like, she was like, well, I was like, and she really wasn't talking like, if Trish is a sugar baby, she's a bad one. Like, that's not your calling, my love, and you need to find a different calling if she is a sugar baby, because she doesn't come out to me as that. Like, he had a completely unsolicited response that I think was just unnecessary about how he's like gonna be your sugar daddy. Ain't nobody take advantage of me. I ain't coming for all that. I came here for love. Okay, so you've been scammed in the past. Got it. So you pulled that shit in the past to try to get somebody, and the reality is you didn't have enough money to really compete to get that person. So therefore, this time around, you want to establish with Trish. Specific, because no telling how you treat that woman in Colombia, no telling how you got your Nigerian wife, but with Trish, because you're older now, you want to make sure that she accepts you for whatever bullshit that you bring to the table that you are, and she has to be happy to accept that. Hence, where I'm not very fond of these older men getting these younger females, excuse me, these younger women, and then being like, oh, accept me for who I am, so on and so forth. But you want me at my best. You want these women at their best, at their peak of beauty and their peak of energy in life, while you don't already spent that on someone else, and then she's accepted for where you're at now. That's where we're at, right? Cool. So he came into this whole thing, and one of his biggest issues I mentioned earlier was with Trish. He said that he goes to her. Now he really wanted to address this, right? Like, hey, he kind of kept bringing this up throughout the time. Like, you ghosted me that one time for 4 or 5 days, 3 or 4 days, whatever it was. I didn't talk to you. I didn't know where you were, all this other stuff. And you know what? Trish busted him out. She was like, I told you though. Like, I was dealing with the situation with my family. Like, so what's the problem? And he was like, but I didn't know anything. I didn't know where you were, so for the so for all this other stuff. And she's like, because I was dealing with this, that's how I would get back to you. Now that seemed rather plausible to me, if I'm being honest. And she felt secure enough to deal with what she had to deal with before she got back, got back to him. So it got to the point when he was discussing it, he was like, I want to see your phone. Because he was so threatened by the fact that she was entertaining her ex in that time frame, and since then. Now, catch this. He asked to see her phone. She gave him his phone, unlocked it for him. He went through the messages, and he grilled her about being with the ex, and she was like, you can go through. Kind of found out she wasn't in contact with him. She was unresponsive to his messages. She did not call him and call him back. It was all very true. And we kind of found out that the ex apparently has money and was able to kind of be this person for Trish and so on and so forth. But Trish she broke that relationship off because he cheated on her. And because of that, she did not feel like that she wanted to be in a situation where just because he was doing things for her financially, that she was willing to sacrifice monogamy to be with him. So she broke it off with him. And that was one thing that she, of course, has said that she was traumatized from, because she had to discover that. And the thing about Trisha that we're kind of getting into, because I talked about how beautiful she is, and I will admit I have a bias for her because, of course, I think she's beautiful, and then she's young, and then she's smart, and she exudes a certain level of potential that I think some people like myself want to see her flourish in. On the same token, I got to be honest with the fact of Trish, as smart as she is, Trish has not learned a certain level of street smarts from what she's told in this show. And she has not learned certain mature reactions to things, because she's just not a woman of that caliber as of yet. I think that she would get there, and she's trying to find a way how to build that within her. So, but they're just, I'm saying women, but this applies to individuals. However, I'm going to talk to women. When a woman, when you're talking to a certain kind of woman of class, that's the wrong word to use. I'm going to say a certain caliber of a woman. They just aren't going to play with you, right? And there isn't going to be a lot of, and quite frankly, while we all can get played in different ways, I think that there's a certain level of women to where they get to a certain wisdom within themselves. I'm not going to use the word age, to where it's like, you already know whether you can play that fuckboy shit with them or not. And Trish, I think, has the potential to get to that point. But she is not there now. Therefore, Rick plays upon that time and time and time again throughout the season. And that's what makes my booty itch. And that's also why I don't like to see these large age gap relationships, because there's a power dynamic exploitation that can happen in these types of relationships. So, and Trish just is not wise enough yet to stand 10 toes down to protect herself from being hurt by those painful antics. So as I was saying, she gave him his phone, proved her point. We dead this issue. Like, because they had been set up, because she had possibly have deleted the messages and look a certain way. Anything is possible with technology. However, I don't think that was the case. She did not necessarily seem to be in love or taken with her ex in that capacity. I think she was hurt by him, but clearly she had moved on and she was trying to really kind of do what she had. And like she said, she has a job. She has her own money. So I think that there's a certain level of confidence and stability that Trish already possesses within herself to not have to be extremely dependent on someone else to take care of her. As we move forward, now keep in mind, I told you the secret that Rick is keeping from Trish, right? So he addressed his stuff, right? And he did not take this opportunity when he was making her prove herself to say, "Oh, let me share with you what's happening." Like he didn't say, "Well, here's my phone. I want to establish a certain sense of level of trust with you, Trish." Of course not. Of course not, because I have said this in some of the other videos. One of the things that I think that we get to see, particularly on 90 Fiance, with these Americans going over there to court these people, is they have this idea about themselves. Like, I have this secret. I'm going to hide my truth, right? But I know this could possibly be a deal breaker, or at the very least, you're going to have an issue with this truth. So what am I going to do? I'm gonna either turn the tables or let's get you to fall in love with me so much so to where when I do tell you, because it's only fair for you to know, you will have you will be able to forgiveness. You will be able to forgive me more because you're already in love with me. Because I can, dangle this in front of you. I think it's a highly manipulative way to having a relationship, especially if you know it's wrong. It's one in the table. I didn't know it was a big deal. I didn't know that would bother you. That was nothing we didn't discuss, or there was no signals to kind of talk about this, but Rick knows enough from this woman at this point, considering that she's already been vocal about the fact that she's been cheated on and she, is not interested in sharing her man. He knows that this secret will bother her. He's not stupid. Rick is an asshole, but he's not stupid. He doesn't get that privilege at all from me. And he shouldn't get it from you of like we need to give him an opportunity because he doesn't know any better. No, 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 no. He knew what the fuck he was doing. You know what I mean? And so because of that, we get to this point of like where he finds some satisfaction with her story and he moves on, but he waits until the highlight of their trip to tell her his situation. What do I mean, V? So when it comes to their trip, they took a trip from where they were staying before they went to Antananarivo, which is where she's actually from, Madagascar, to this like secluded, isolated island, and it was beautiful. Like it's like a two-story loft style, and it had this 180-degree view of the ocean. They had their own waterfall, and like it was beautiful. It was beautiful. They had to hike up this mountain to get to actually get to the accommodations, and they had people carrying their luggage. It was beautiful. She has said I had never even been before. I've only heard about this place. I've only seen this place. So for her, I would love to kind of spend time there, if I'm being honest. I would love to spend time there. It looked very serene. I love that. I'm such a beach person, to be quite frank with you. I am definitely a person to where when I travel, I want to go to the beach. I want to be on the beach. The windows are open. I want to hear the water all times. And I'm from Miami, so I just love, love, love coastal and beach environments. And so They have this fun moment with trying to dress up and all that other stuff as like the Tarzan and all that. She found it cringe. I did too. Didn't want to see that. She said, "I'd rather be naked," and then he proceeds to kind of start taking off clothes. Ugh. No, thank you. It gets to this point of like um, where he decides in the morning right before they're going to go see her family. He's like, "I got something to tell you." And the way I just said that to you, is how I wish that he would. It was more like from him, "I got something to tell you, and I don't know how you gonna take this. Um, oh, I'm just." And she's like, "Nigga, what the fuck is it? Like, what's going on?" Like, get to the meat. Get to the point. Why is we beating around the bush with this shit? Like, what the fuck is it? Like, okay, you're making me nervous here. And I'm already trying to get my mind right for my family because I want to be pregnant. So what do you got to tell me that's gonna mess my mind up? Like, let's get to it. You too old for this shit. And he eventually, and this is for me the most emotional scene of the entire season. Um, I was pissed, but he was like, when you had ghosted me and you was not there, um, I booked a trip to Colombia to see my ex, and I spent time with my ex. What? you know, Speak with your full chest, like how you was cussing me out about not being a sugar daddy and all that. No, talk with that same energy about like how you ain't for to sit here and be how you already gave me money. No, talk with that same energy. You did what? And he said that he had went to Colombia because and of course when he's explaining this, it was like when you're claiming to admit to where you were wrong. However, it's the air of you were wrong originally, which caused me to do wrong. So because you were wrong and what you did, you caused me to do this. But I know that you don't like this, so give me credit for telling you about it. Just know that this would not have happened had you been responsive to my messages, and you have been, I'm sorry, because she was responsive to the messages, that you have been calling me and giving me the attention that I expect. And the emotion that, Trish showed in that moment, and the rawness that we saw, because it was for those who know, Trish had, without the physical violence, she had a very black woman response. And I know that sounds crazy because that's not to say that people from Madagascar are not black, but like side note, it's always interesting to me how like black people in other places have some of the same same traits or reactions that I have deemed to only like being like in like black American culture. And it was funny kind of seeing that like, oh, she can get with it. Like you can like Trish can get with it, if we're being frank. Like they got the end. Some of them Africans be doing a little bit different, if we're being honest. But no, Madagascar people, Trish, she's like, shut the fuck up. What? Don't touch me. Because Trish don't have to be touched when she's pissed. Don't touch me and all that. And I was like, I I wasn't crying with her, but I was pissed with her because you're older, and immaturely she placed a lot of faith in your age to expect better consideration from you as to how you handle things. But that hit hard for her. That hit hard for her. And on top of that, you waited until we were isolated in this hut on an island to where I just can't up and leave. And we're back with my fence. So I'm already in a compromised position to where I really can't exit to the exit stage right to get away from you. And so she began her tinkering at that point was like, okay, this motherfucker seriously waited until this very moment to tell me this, and then you were trying to gaslight me, and then all of a sudden it is, let's talk about it, let's get over it. Trish, don't be sad. Now you want to rush to get over it and not give me time to process that. See, that's the kind of stuff that really pissed me off at Rick. Like it is the audacity. Is it shock? No. Am I surprised? I hate to say it, but unfortunately, no. I'm not. I know some of my brethren. It's the games that some of that not. I shouldn't say that only black men play because it could be any man of any culture. It's the games that he decided to play on this young lady, and it's that and of course she's not there. Now I'm not. Now I gotta take a little moment and out of the spirit of fairness, because this is appearing what we're supposed to do, I want to hold Trish accountable. Now, I'm not trying to paint Trish as this innocent, shallow, delicate flower that can do no wrong. In this, she's just this purely innocent 14-year-old who doesn't know anything. I'm not trying to say that. Like where I saw Trisha's angle was when she clearly was trying to set things up in a favorable manner with her family in order to get what she needed, what they considered to be whatever approval from her family for Rick, so she can move forward with Rick. So there is an angle that I think that Trish was definitely playing with Rick that was questionable from the very beginning, that she knew, because she knew her father would have a problem with his age. She knew that this man was not committed to have a baby with her. And she knew that very lack of commitment was going to be problematic for her family. So there was a part in her scene where she was like, she's trying to set things up in a way in which that her family would be favorable. So she omitted details. They don't know about his kids. They don't know about his divorces. They don't know about his age. The family is not fully aware of who Rick is and what baggage Rick brings to the table. So I do think that on one level, Trish may have, wanted to hold, Trish wanted her family to hold him to the fire with really forcing him to want to have a baby with her, which inevitably, just to skip towards that, he did. Just to please his family, he said, yeah, because her family said, no, you ain't living here and you don't get to have our daughter until you agree to have a baby with her. So it was definitely a very high stress and very forceful environment. So he just said he said they want to hear, but I doubt, and I don't believe that he meant it at all whatsoever. And make no mistake, Trish was willing to lie to get this quote unquote blessing from her father. And she had set things up in a way to even prevent her father the opportunity to refuse meeting this man had he known all of the baggage that Rick came with. I wonder if Trish would play that game again. Probably so. If we're being honest. Because she has her own intentions and motives, right? But I think that she was so desperate to try to have this kid because we find out that her culture and her tribe, them having kids, is an extremely serious thing, which is not unheard of in so many other different cultures. Now, make no mistake, Rick has, I think, a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. Like, he already has young children from the past one. And she has met these kids via video. She knows their names and she likes those kids. However, it doesn't seem to me a lot of times in these cultures that adopting or bringing in kids via marriage is acceptable or satisfactory to you having your own children. I would never, I should say I would never understand. It's not my culture, right? Like I'm 30 years old. I don't have any kids. And this won't be the video where I go into my anxieties with having children, especially in today's climate, to be quite frank with you. But I will say this. I always find it interesting that, like, and I'm going to sound like a dumb American. So give me the dumb American rose-colored glasses right now, okay? Because this is a very dumb American thing to say. I just sometimes don't get, like when I saw her family, I'm like, y'all washing your clothes by hand, y'all live like this is a very manual place to live. Like the water's cold, you're having to put the water in the bucket to travel it. And it's like, y'all not thinking about how to make things a bit more convenient for your lives. Like, y'all have like 8, 9 people living all in one place. And again, I'm accustomed to, I shouldn't say just American, but I'm accustomed to certain conveniences and a lifestyle that I have deemed to be comfortable. Because let's be frank here, if we were to switch places, like this is the one time I did agree with Rick, I wouldn't. It would be hard for me to adapt, maybe even for a night, to sleep in those conditions, even though they do it every day. And if we were to give them our houses and our lifestyle, they may be like, "This is just all too much." There's definitely a subsection of people who are like, "I can do this better with my hands. I don't need the machine to do this for me." You know, I don't need to be out here. Yes, you may have hot water, but you paying for your hot water. My water comes from Mother Nature and Gaia. So I I understood where he was coming from, but I bring this point up because I'm like, y'all have other stuff to go on, and the only thing y'all really be worried about is having babies. Like, y'all don't want more for yourselves. And again, I know that it's not right to say, and it is something I should probably, that's a thought that I should keep to myself. Shit, but I don't say that now. So that's just how I felt when I was like, damn, y'all got other things to focus on. It's about it's about 9 y'all in this bitch. Y'all ain't trying to get your own place. Like, what the fuck? Like, hop and skip to a different island. Like, y'all really good? But anywho, I digress. Them people they'll be just fine. Listen, as third world as it may have seemed to me, I'm gonna tell you something. Them floors were clean. Them concrete, no door having walls was clean. And it seemed like they had a system in place. They were upkeeping it, and you know what? Quite frankly, they ain't seem to have a problem with it. They actually seem to have a damn good time with it, and they made their own fun with it. See, and then they were probably happier than some of us asses is over here and get on America. I know they probably happy that they don't have to deal with the carrot head that we have as a president. So I digress. Regardless, we're not done with Rick because after he agreed to have the baby to pacify the family, Trish is, of course, elated. She's already mentioned she's definitely okay and excited to be a stepmother, but she, of course, wants to have her own. And she just loves babies. She's a midwife for a reason, of course. And while they're at the airport traveling back, uh, she discovers that Rick's ex from Colombia has been texting him on his phone, maybe for the past 3 or 4 days. So that means while they were with her family and possibly even before. And she makes him give her his phone, and we discover that Rick is just like, he's entertaining the conversation. Mind you, after he found out that Trish was not entertaining conversation with her ex, he entertained conversation and even doubled down. Some of the best moments of my life was with you, and I will always cheer. Like just saying all these sweet nothings to make her feel good at this point, and that hit Trish. That hit her. That was a turning point. And I think that um, it was extremely tacky of Rick, but at this point, we know that Rick is someone who doesn't take accountability, and he has fuckboy logic. And while Trish really wanted him to show that he was so in love with her that he is willing to block and completely cut his ex out of his life, like how she was willing to do or may have done, he was very upfront and said he can't do that. He won't do it because he still has feelings for her. Even though it's all this, he's here to make Trish his wife, and gonna do all this, so on and so forth. He did double down, so I'm not gonna do that for you. And she was like, okay, I'm done. And she blocked him and did her stuff. Now we do find out at the last episode that Trish show her ass up to that airport to supposedly give him back some outfits that she had already bought for him. And I know I was one of the people that also had a problem with it. I do think this is a case where production truly had convinced her to find a reason to come to the airport, because we've seen that happen in the past, where it's like, production probably plays a huge role trying to convince them to kind of come back to kind of have some sort of closure or whatever, and it didn't work in Zayed and Emma. Because I'm sure they tried to call Zayed or Zayed, whatever his name was, back over in Morocco to come back and see Emma. Which I'm sorry, he did. He did. Emma, he like how Zayed came out to kind of say goodbye to Emma. And they had closure. I think that had more to do with production, honestly, and convincing him to kind of come back and and say your piece, right? So I think that that's how it was for Trish, if I'm being honest, because what we really kind of see is at that airport when they got back in, she did not go back to the hotel with him. She went back to her own apartment, and he had to spend time by himself. She met with him one time before he left to end things, and she, I think, was trying to give him an out because this is why I said she hasn't reached that full level of like maturity, like grown folk maturity, because she still is leaving the door open to allow herself to be disappointed again. So for what I mean, so what she was doing was this, like when she met with him before he went to the airport, it was a level of like, I'm really angry with you, I'm done with you, but essentially we've gotten this far, so are you gonna block her? How bad do you want me? You only will want me if you're willing to do this superficial action to prove that you want me, right? And of course, as I said earlier, Rick did not agree to it. So at that point, she went through herself when she went on her phone. She went in and blocked everything, removed him, deleted his contacts on all the apps and so on and so forth. She said she was done. She won't talk to him ever again. And even when she showed to the airport, like I said, I do believe that production had a big part of bringing her back, and her claim was to return this package to him. Um, she definitely seemed distant. I do not think Trish is faking her hurt. I do think that she is emotional and she is hurt. And she's going to have to take these experiences and grow from them to learn how to respond in a way in which that better protects her emotions and to not give these opportunities to the wrong people to allow themselves to hurt her, right? And if you're looking for a certain standard and who you're trying to date, then you're gonna have to also give them a reason to meet that standard, meet that challenge. And so it was interesting to me that she was still kind of saying things to kind of give him this hope. That is wrong. If you know you're done with a person, don't give them hope. Don't let them know. As much as I can't stand that man Rick, um, don't give that man hope. I don't think he should have even deserved your tears, if I'm being frank. As much as Rick may have cried and expressed all this over the sofa, Rick just don't want to be alone. Rick just don't want to be alone. And I don't know why him and the woman from Colombia didn't work out. If I had to guess, I guess I would guess the woman from him in Colombia. This is me purely guessing. I don't know if she got kids or she don't have kids. But either she couldn't bring her ass over to the American states or she wasn't willing to be a part of his kid's life. I think that's why that's why he's not with the women alone. But where did that come from? I don't even know. Like I said, all I'm doing is talking to this camera, which you all are seeing. So my thoughts be going all over the place. However, this is somebody. This was a cringe. This whole story was a cringe. Now we do find out that I'm sure you all have heard by now. Trish is pregnant, and I'll be honest. I hope it ain't Rick's baby. I really like. They was doing and do quite a bit, but I really hope that within the time frame from when they finished filming to now to tell all when she kind of does a little reveal of baby bump because she looked like she was. I don't know pregnancy and trimester like that. I didn't finna see her lie, but the belly was big. She's not a big girl, so she had a big belly. So I don't know, you know what I mean, the time frames, but I hope it ain't Rick's baby. I hope it's not. And the reason why I hope it's not because he doesn't deserve that from her. We don't know much about how he treats his other kids, but something tells me, if he is busy chasing um, women and he's looking for self gratification wherever he might be able to find it, I just don't get the impression that he's very present in his children's life. That's just my impression. Again, I know, and I have been wrong a lot of times in my life, and I'm gonna probably be wrong more in my life. And I'm gonna probably be proven wrong on this tell-all as well. He could be the best father. He could be the most present in the world, and them kids can't even tell. He probably has sole custody of all five of them. Who the hell knows? The three older may stay with him. I don't know. He may be there for all of his children. I don't know. I That's just a vibe that I don't think I get from him because that's not what he has showed in his behavior, his characteristic, and the traits in which he has responded and acted on this show. And I am not expecting to see anything better from this man, if I'm being frank. So I hope it ain't his baby. I hope that she got it from somewhere else. She looks happy for sure. And this is definitely those things where you know how sometimes we want better. We may want what we think is better for people. However, people will always do what the fuck they want to do. So Trish will do whatever she want to do. But other than that, listen, I would love to know your thoughts about what I've said about this couple. I would love to know your thoughts about what you think about Rick and Trisha. This was an interesting couple for me. Like I said, it was cringe worthy. I know I spent a lot of time shitting on Rick. I just he hit a spot for me. I don't know why, but he did, and he kept doing it as well. So clearly, I am talking to my therapist, right? To see where that kind of came from. However, he needs to go to therapy, and he needs to talk about see what's up with that. All right, y'all. I hope that you all like this. If you did, hit that thumbs up, of course. Make sure it's pointing up, not down. And I would love to know your thoughts in the comment section, of course. If you feel compelled to, please subscribe. I look forward to watching the tell all and give my thoughts on each part each week as it comes out. I did all my couples, so I hope you all having a great weekend. Take care.